All right, today it's my pleasure to be speaking with Debbie Coffman, a legendary girls basketball coach for Central Catholic High School, where she has led numerous girls to fantastic seasons, earning a state title, 2 state runner-up finishes, and a 3rd place finish as well. She's entering her 27th year as head coach for this team, while also being the first female president of the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association. She's earned over 500 wins at Central Catholic, she's in numerous halls of fame, and she's also working full-time elsewhere and raising some amazing children with her husband, Mike. So, Debbie, thank you so much for making the time to come and talk to me today. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. So, just curious, how do you make this time? What's your secret? How do you balance so many things and not lose your head over it?
Well, to be honest, I'm glad you asked me to come speak because I'm kind of bored at home right now.
Oh, my gosh.
I just love to be busy. I love to be around kids. I have a full-time job. I have 2 children that I've raised. I've gone through lots of sports, and I just like to be busy. I mean, to stay at home and be doing nothing is kind of boring. So it's been a fun ride and a great adventure, and I've had lots of memories.
That's incredible. So where did you get your start in basketball in the first place? Who inspired you? What inspired you? How'd you get your start?
Well, I played basketball since I've been in 5th grade, and I had older siblings that played, so I was always kind of dragged along to watch them play. I went to Prairie Central High School, played there, and then went on to play at Eureka College. And, I've just had great coaches over the year, mentors. Don Gibb was my high school coach, and Coach Schuster and Schweitzer were my coaches in college. And they just gave so much, and I just wanted to be that part in somebody else's life as well. I didn't go into teaching. I actually ran into the Central Catholic girls basketball coach, Joanne Bowers, who had been there 20-some years before me and actually ended my senior year career at Prairie Central when we lost to them in the sectional game. And I was just telling her how much I missed it. And about 2 months later, she called me and said, "Hey, I need an assistant." So I was an assistant for her for 4 years and have just been doing it ever since and just love every minute of it.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, I couldn't help but notice, you said you're from Prairie Central, and I want to give a quick shout out to Emancipation Brewery, who has made this new drink called Huey right there, and a portion of the proceeds go towards athletic boosters and music boosters at Prairie Central. So thank you, Lincoln, for that. This is amazing beer. And so again, I want to ask, how do you keep a level head with all that you do? Oh no, sorry. Prairie Central. Your freshman year, you weren't at Prairie Central. You were at Chatsworth, correct?
Correct. We consolidated my sophomore year. So, we had just 72 kids in the high school at Chatsworth, and then we consolidated with 4 Strong Wing and Fairbury Cropsey. And, it was probably one of the best things that ever happened. I mean, the kids from communities coming together used to be rivals, and all of a sudden they're at one school together. So that was a great opportunity for the kids. And Prairie Central's been going real strong in everything that they've done now.
So I've heard that some people, especially the people in like Chenoa, did Chenoa come into the picture later on? You said 4 Strong Wing, Chatsworth, and Fairbury consolidated in the 80s. And then was it Chenoa came later?
Yeah,
Chenoa
right? Came later. Yeah, so they weren't there when we first started at Central Catholic. Maybe 10 or 12 years later after that. I'm not sure what the exact date was, but yeah, they came later.
Got it. And there was no like rivalry or anything. It was a smooth transition?
I think it was a better transition for the kids than it was for the parents, honestly. I remember my parents, everybody, when we were consolidated, and, we're losing our high schools. But I know my parents got right involved with the booster club and were very involved in it. But I think it was a great transition for the kids.
So who was your number one role model, I guess, in basketball growing up? Was it one of your siblings in specific, or?
Well, my older sister Sharon played basketball. So I was always following her, and after school when I was in 5th and 6th grade, I'd go over and I'd watch their practices until she could take me home from school. So I grew up watching basketball all the time, and I really think that's where I kind of became a coach on the floor as well. But I would say, Don Gibb, my high school coach, he was at Chatsworth my freshman year, and then he was the head coach at Prairie Central as well. And, I just saw all the time and effort that he gave into it, and really just wanted, to be part of that program.
How long have you been at Central Catholic then?
So I was the assistant coach for 4 years, and then Joanne Bowers retired, and then I got the head coach when I think I was 27. And so I've just completed my 24th year, so next year will be my 25th.
Oh, I said 27 in the intro. My bad.
That's all right. That's all right. So next year will be 25, and I have actually had the same assistant coach for all 24 years. When I took over the program, I was looking for an assistant coach, and I ran into a former player that mentioned a girl that used to coach at Bloomington and played at Bloomington, and her name is Mindy Smith. And Coach T, and she's been with me ever since. And that's really impressive to have an assistant coach with you for that long. And I think that's why our program has been so successful. I learned early on in my career that you kind of surround yourself with good people. And when Mindy came in, she kind of brought a little bit of a defensive thing. I was more offensive. I like to score the ball. And so we just work really well together. And I think it's very important for young girls to see the team, how a team forms and how they work together every single day. So she's been a real big part of our success. So I have to give a little shout out to her as well.
Of course, yeah. And where do you think you learned these principles that you've applied in your own coaching that have led to the success that you've had at Central Catholic? Like, who showed you the way?
Well, as I said, my high school coaches, my college coaches as well. And then when I worked with Joanne Bowers for 4 years, she had been doing this for, 20 some years at Central Catholic. And I've watched her, she raised 4 boys of herself. So being able to balance all that. And I just saw how much she dedicated herself to the program. And she had very successful teams. In fact, I think one of the years they beat Chatsworth, my high school, in the state tournament. And just everything that she gave is something that I wanted to give back. And once I got involved in it, I know I have changed my way of coaching over the years, especially when my kids got to high school and I saw how busy they were. I kind of changed. If you would talk to some of the first girls that I coached at Central Catholic and now the kids I coach now, I coach completely different. And I think a lot of that is just you got to grow with the years as well. And kids are so busy and so involved. And for girls, I've tried to fight for something because they play 2 nights a week where boys usually just play 1 night a week and then they got Friday night. So I just saw how much teachers give tests on Fridays and girls are on the buses and we could be an hour and a way home and get home really late. And just having to deal with so much, I think once you see your kids go through it, then you kind of changed your ways. And in that change, we've been successful over the years. So it wasn't like I, backed down from the way I coach or anything like that. It's just realizing all what young kids have to do to go through in high school. I mean, it's a tough time sometimes.
What changes did you make? Can you articulate that?
I think I looked at the schedule a little bit more. We tried to get more games on the weekends as well. We probably didn't practice as long at certain times or knowing if there was tests or big projects coming up that we tried to give them some times to do those kinds of things. So I think that was a little bit different. And just realizing kids' emotions, there's a lot of things, especially with social media over the years, that you have to change as well. There's so many other things that kids, are going through these days, and just always being a mentor to them. We try to talk to them at different times. We have meetings with them throughout the season to talk about their roles on the basketball team. And then if there's anything else that they want to talk about, I mean, we're just not there to be wins and losses and X's and O's. We're also there to be mentors and to help these guys grow into their next chapter.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, especially on a high school girls team. I mean, oh my gosh, dramatic things are happening left and right in their life. They're, for the first time, they're going through these, what seem like world-ending, apocalyptic social events, I guess. So it's so important to have someone that they look up to, that they respect, that they listen to, asking them about their lives and what's going on and stuff like that. And I'm just curious, only say what you can say, I guess. Have you ever had someone open up to you about something, relatively alarming? Like, whoa.
Yeah, I always say that someday I'll write a book. There are some things that have opened up, and, I've had, we lost a former basketball player too, so to go something through that, emotional, she had graduated, from Central Catholic, but later in life had a virus that attacked her heart. And we always wore these red shoelaces because we were just going to wear those red shoelaces until she got better. She wore red lipstick and she always went to the right, so that we wore them on our right shoe. And she has passed away since, and we still wear those red shoelaces. Some of these girls weren't even born when she played.
Wow.
But it's just something, a tradition that we've done to talk about other things, what's important in life. I also lost a niece at the age of 14 in a car accident. And so I every year dedicate an award for her, Saints Award. And, it's just more important that the kids know that there's other thing out there in life than just, the X's and O's.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot of things that we try to bring to it. But yeah, there's some conversations that you never thought you'd have. I've had some funny things happen too, where one night we were playing in Muhammad and a girl runs over and I thought she was giving me her, they all wear the pre-wrap on their on their head, and I thought she was giving me a pre-wrap, and she'd had a, something else that she was throwing, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is everything can happen with a girl,
Wait a minute, what? I think I'm missing some pre-wrap on your head.
Well, they wear like pre-wrap over on their head to keep their hair back,
Oh, like a hair band.
Yeah, and so
whatever.
that's what I thought it was, and it was just a funny story that, she ran over and other things were happening in her life, and and just with girls, you just never know what's going to happen. But we've had some really good times, funny times, laughter, some serious times. Kids, ask if we can get out of practice because they got to get their hair done early for prom or their nails done on Friday or homecoming, and we don't play, it's not till Saturday, but just all kinds of stories that the kids have done throughout the years.
Oh, I'm sure. Look, I'm an airheaded person. I don't know what you're talking about. You thought she was something with a headband.
Right.
What'd she give you, though?
Well, I think she might have had, I don't know if this is maybe like a G-string or like underwear, and it ripped, and so she just threw it out. And so we were like, what is going on? And afterwards we thought it was pre-wrap. Well, it wasn't. And you just kind of go on about coaching your thing,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Okay, thank you for clarifying. That's a hilarious story.
And the hair, and then at the state tournament one year, I'll never forget this. At the state tournament, everything's timed. Like your timeouts are timed. You go in the locker room, you can't come out till they tell you to. And so I was running to the bathroom because I was nervous, and I was like, it was really hot, so they had these big auxiliary fans, in the locker room. And I went running by them, and I had a sweater, and my sweater got caught in the auxiliary fan, and I had to yank it out, and it was in shreds. And I'm in the state tournament, and we're on TV. So I took that little clippers that you clip your when you take your tape off your foot, and I clipped it, and I clipped the other side, and no one ever knew, but I knew. So it's a funny story of the state tournament that Coach K's, they call me Coach K, that got stuck in an auxiliary fan, and it was going to be a catastrophe for me.
Why do they call you Coach K?
My maiden name was Kessinger, and so when I got married, Coffman can be spelled two ways, and they're like, oh, we can still call you Coach K. I'm like, well, it's with a C, but so they call me Coach K. And my assistant is Smith, but her maiden name was Thompson, and they called her Coach T. So we have Coach K and Coach T, and everyone can never figure out why our names, are not those initials. But so it's that.
That's good stuff. I'm curious. So in high school wrestling, which I've done my whole life. I've lived my whole life as a wrestler. I've wrestled since I was a little kid, and we always look at the state tournament in Illinois as being a huge deal. It's in the State Farm Center, this giant spaceship. It's really dramatic, and crazy things happen down there. What's the high school basketball girls state tournament like? Is it similar?
It's a great experience. When we go down there on Thursday night, they have this banquet for the girls. So the girls all get dressed up, and so that was a lot of fun. And then they had on Thursday, the same day, they have like a practice where you go to the ISU and you get to do some drills and things like that. And then you meet with photographers, and they take your pictures, and then they have like a press day. And then just the experience. We didn't get to stay because we were in town. That Central Catholic just let us, they wanted to stay at home. So that was kind of a bummer for the girls because you didn't get to go and experience by staying in a hotel and all that.
Right.
But I think it actually helps us because you're sleeping in your own bed. You're in the same routine. I made them go to school on Friday till a certain point so they'd get up and get going. But it's just a wonderful experience. That first year, just recently, the Fieldcrest girls went to state this year, and I reached out to Mitch and I said, enjoy the moment. It's kind of like a wedding. You want to get there, you get there, and then the weekend it's really fast and it's over, and you're like, did I get to enjoy that? But it was just so much fun. It's just so much fun. And then afterwards, the school had a celebration for us, and it's just, the IHSA does a good job of having a great state tournament.
The pageantry is what is probably some of the most enjoyable parts of the state tournaments, I feel like.
It is. And, just to get up there, when you go, you're going to get a trophy, you're going to get a medal, and you're standing on that podium. And the first year we got there, we had a lot of close games and we just never could make the big game. And I'm like, I just don't think I'm going to make it to the state tournament. The year before we made it to the state tournament, we were undefeated. I had a great team and I had 2 of my starters get really sick. I mean, they're throwing up in the locker room at halftime. They're trying to play and it's not worth it. And we lose that game. And I'm just like, this is just not meant to be. And then the next year we made our run. We got to the state tournament. We won the state. But to stand on the podium, I remember crying and taking the pictures. And I have this big picture in the back in my house in the basement. And my son and daughter always made fun of me. And so they're like, why are you crying? You just won the state tournament. I said, you have no idea what it's like. It's hard work to get there, and to know that you've achieved it, it's great. Well, fast forward. So the next year we get second. So it's a little bit different emotion. You still should be happy you're second. And then a couple years later, my son is playing in a state championship for basketball. And at the end, they win, and he's crying. And I look at him and I say, you can't feel that until you feel it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my daughter was able to win in volleyball at her freshman year, a state championship. And it's until you really see it and achieve it, it's great. And there's a lot of luck, and there's a lot of things. Teams get beat along the way, that sometimes you don't think that you're going to get there, and it's just a lot of luck and a lot of opportunities, and it's just a wonderful experience.
Oh, yeah. I mean, state tournaments, I can only relate in as much as I've experienced a state tournament in wrestling. And this year even, I went down to the state tournament for boys wrestling and interviewed the state champions. And my goodness, you think about it, in these kids' lives, this is the pinnacle of competition for them. It's not elusive. It's just very dramatic. It's very daunting, the state tournament. It's important. It really is important. I mean, it's going to have a lasting impact on them for the rest of their lives. You might live the rest of your life as a state champion, and that's a really cool thing, So I have had dreams that I've won the state title and woken up thinking I did win. I was the state champion. And then only like an hour later, I'm like, oh, it's not even winter right now, So I completely understand, why you would cry after winning a state title.
It's just a wonderful feeling. And me and my son and my daughter, we tease our husband because he didn't win a state title and anything. And so we always laugh that, he could come along with the state champs. But he has a school record in scoring at basketball for 46. So we don't have that. So
that's funny.
There's a lot of competition in our family going on.
I love it. And I want to ask you a little more about, your history as a competitor in the sport of basketball, maybe even a little more about that state title. But first, I want to give a quick thank you to a local sponsor, Dave's Supermarket. Have you ever been to Dave's?
I have been there.
Of course you have. Everyone's been to Dave's, but here's a quick word from them. Since 1950, Dave's Supermarket in Fairbury has been wowing customers throughout Central Illinois with their unmatched customer service, delectable deli market, beloved grocery carryout service, and many other fortes, which is why they've earned hundreds of 5-star reviews online. Dave's 3rd Street Deli has plenty of seating and is a destination place to meet your family and friends for good food, fun, and fellowship. Not only is their home-style fried chicken here the best around, but you can also enjoy free coffee and 50-cent ice cream every single day. And be sure to check out their Old World Bakery while you're here, where freshly baked goods are prepared every morning. You'll find hundreds of unique and signature items here at Dave's that you won't find anywhere else, like their famous potato salad, ham loaf, and canned meats, just to name a few. Dave's Supermarket is open Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and offers online shopping and curbside services. Come experience this revered location that puts a super in supermarket when you shop at Dave's in Fairbury, Illinois, wowing the customer for over 70 years.
That better?
That's perfect. Okay. All right, and we are back. That was Dave's Supermarket in Fairbury, Illinois. And so I'm curious, what was your career like at Eureka College? You graduated from Prairie Central. Maybe tell us actually a little bit about your career at Prairie Central. Was it successful? Did you have some success there as a team and as an individual? Start with high school. How was it at Prairie Central?
Yeah, we were very successful. We were in a different conference at the time than what Prairie Central's in now. I don't even know what the conference was called, but we went more towards the Clifton Central, Hoopston, Paxton area.
Okay.
My senior year that I probably remember the most, we actually my junior year, we got beat by Seneca in the sectional game, and they ended up winning state. And so the next year we played them at their place, beat them the first round, and then we got to play Central Catholic, and they beat us in the sectional championship. I love to play inside and outside, so it kind of depended on the year. My sophomore year, I was a post player. My junior year, I was the point guard because we had 2 6-footers on the team. And then my senior year, I was back as a post player. And then I went on and played at Eureka. I had the assist record there, so I was actually played the point guard there for a while, but I have since been broken. We were pretty successful there as well. I think my senior year we won the conference and had a chance to go on, and then we got beat the first round. So
you hold the what record? You said
I held the assist record at Eureka, but it's been broken since then. But so.
Well, you're in the Eureka Hall of Fame if my research is correct.
I am. I probably was more of a contributor with assists. It did score a little bit too, but I think a lot of the success too from being in the Hall of Fame came with me afterwards, coaching and things like that. So.
Oh, okay, I see. Interesting. How would you say? Would you say you were a decent player at Prairie Central as well, or?
I started all 3 years that I was there at Prairie Central. I think my senior year averaged like 17 points. Didn't look all this up, but I have all the scrapbooks that Mary Jane, my mom, has put together. And then my senior year, I got to play in the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association. It's an all-star game that seniors get to play in, and so I got to go over to Peoria, and that was a lot of fun. So my IBCA days go way back, and that was one of my first opportunities with them.
So, what year did you graduate high school again?
88.
88. Okay. 88. That's a little too recent maybe for this, but did you ever have people telling you, like, basketball, these sports aren't for girls? You ever experienced that? Conservative farm town Fairbury, maybe?
Not really. I mean, I played 3 sports at Prairie Central. I was a volleyball player and a basketball player, and I played softball as well. That's what I try to encourage as a coach too. I think it's very important to kind of spread your wings. There's so many kids that specialize now, and of course that kind of it drives me a little nuts because I just think sports gives so many different things, and there's that you'll take on later in life.
Such as what? Why is it important that kids do multiple sports?
Well, I think one, on your body. I think it helps prevent injuries. I think if you play one sport, you're playing the same thing over and over and over, that you're using the same muscles, and with your other sports that you're, using a bunch of different muscles for that. I think 2, you're on different teams. Different teams are all different coaches. You learn how to manage things. Being involved in sports allow you to be able to communicate, learn about communication, leadership, all those good things, time management. And I think it's important for kids to stay busy. There's too many other things to go on if they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mean like getting in trouble and stuff?
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. My goodness. If I were not wrestling, what I was doing is like, living in a single parent household, and I was skateboarding all day. If I didn't have wrestling, oh my gosh, it was a matter of time before I got into drugs and got into who knows what else. So, I mean, I am a huge proponent of sports, kids playing sports. I think it's crucial to their development psychologically, socially, and all other things.
Right. And I think there's good things. I mean, they're going to come across coaches. I'm sure I've had players that, sometimes you don't see eye to eye, or how to deal with situations, just having to deal with things, because you're going to take that on the next time you're going to have a boss or a coworker that you might not get along with, and you got to work through those things. And I think sports allows those things to happen.
Mm-hmm. Problem resolution is huge. Communication, not freaking out when someone disagrees with you or when someone gets mad at you, things like that. Being coachable equals being employable, if you ask me.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Were you going to say something? I was just...
I was, but now I forgot what I was going to say about it.
Hey, no big deal.
It'll come back to me, I promise, and I'll get it to you.
So how would you describe your coaching style? Are you a tough coach? It's obvious that you care, but tell me about, what's your kind of coaching philosophy? What are you trying to do?
I am hard on the kids, but I always want to make sure that the kids know what that hardness meant. There's many times where I know I've had a kid's name, or I've been on a kid, or I didn't get a kid in, we played him the first half, and the second half we didn't get him in. I always try to communicate with the kids after we leave, whether it's me or one of my assistant coaches, to make sure that they knew what happened. Or, there's many times I have to apologize too.
Really?
That, like you're just on a kid for whatever reason that night. It's that kid, it's Bailey, my daughter, or whatever, like stuff like that. And that you have to be able to make sure that the kids understand, what's coming through. There's many nights in the locker room at halftime that I know we're down, and I'm, want to get them motivated, and I'm after them. But after the game, I make sure they know that I've got their back. I would be the first one that would step up for the kids when they need it. And I hope that they know that they walk away from practice, whether we had a good practice or we ran a lot or something didn't go right, what they thought was right, that they always know that I'm there for them. So there's many times that communication will come out later just to make sure that they know that we're still there. One of the things this year, like we have a Hall of Fame at Central Catholic, and I was honored to have 3 girls from my state team that were inducted to the Hall of Fame. And they get up and they speak. And you're sitting there and, I presented for one of them, and then you're listening to the girls. And all 3 of them, and there's times where I'm like, am I done coaching? I've been doing it for a long time and all that. Okay. And all 3 of them mentioned about if they called Coach K up or Coach T up, they knew that we would always have their back. And that's why you do it. I mean, this is, that team was from 2010, so that's 12 years later. And that when you hear kids think that they know that you have their back, or they would be there for you anytime. I mean, that's why you do it. When you get invited to the girls' weddings or, baby showers and stuff like that, and you celebrate their next things in their life, that's why you do it. It's not all about the all X's and O's and everything that happens, but that's why you do it.
What do you say to them after a practice or after a game that lets them know that you're there for them? You said that that's what you do, but what words do you say?
Well, I let them know that maybe, I was on them too much that night, or, this is what I thought I saw. Did you see that? Kind of talk about things, or don't get discouraged. We didn't get you back in the second half. Things were happening for other reasons, but just to let them know that we didn't give up on them. I mean, you don't want kids to go home, and I'm an athlete. I'm a parent of kids that have played sports. And I know what happens when kids leave things, or they talk to other kids or their parents or anything like that. But I wanted to let them know that we did evaluate the situation as well. I think that's very important to know, that the coaches just don't leave there and say, we did everything right. Because we don't do everything right.
Right.
Just like kids make mistakes in the moment of a game. And we do that as coaches as well. We just want to make sure that they know what the situation was and, what we were looking for and going from there.
Do you think there are major differences between coaching boys and coaching girls?
I think girls are probably a little bit more emotional. I think they take things at heart, like if you're yelling or screaming or things like that, that like they might take it more to heart than a guy would. And I think girls have other things that they're thinking about all the time too, more than maybe guys do. But I think girls can relate, and I think that they can talk to them more, and I think that they will come and ask more questions. I don't know. Maybe I haven't really coached boys, so I don't really know that side of it. But
I spoke to Jill Hutchison, who is a legendary coach in her own right from ISU, the winningest basketball coach in ISU history, and she talked about the differences between male psychology and female psychology from a sports perspective, and we kind of agreed that there was this professional soccer coach who coached men and then coached women. He said the biggest difference was, halftime they're down on the men's team. He'd go in there and throw a trash can through a window, and everyone would get pumped up and, call them, these wimps, what are you doing? Get your head out of your you-know-what. And they would get pumped up and they would come back out and they'd play incredibly. And he said he learned quickly that if you tried anything like that with the female team, they're their own worst critics is the biggest difference. So it's yelling is counterproductive to the max. And he said he would walk in there and just be like, well, what do you guys think? And he said that was how he got them pumped up, because they were their own worst critics. Is that true with high school girls at all, or not really?
I agree. High school girls, they are emotional, and you have to be able to figure out how they react to emotions. I had one player that, I would just look at her and she'd get emotional and teary-eyed.
Sorry,
and between her junior year and her senior year, I said, okay, we need to work this out. And we worked on how to be able to communicate with one another. And she had the best senior year ever, so I was kind of bummed that I didn't do that a little bit sooner, to kind of help some out, because some girls are just, they fear something over more than others do. So there are ways. There's some girls you could yell at them, and it doesn't bother them. But just to find out how to communicate them, what motivates them. My son's basketball team, he always says I don't run them enough, but I'm not a big person to put them on the line. Instead, we do things like our full court press. We do it for 45 minutes, just nonstop, going back and forth. And I think that's more conditioning than to put them on a line. So I punish things differently than my son. Is always like, you're too nice. And I'm like, you don't know how much we run in other drills, So I try to do more running things in drills so the kids don't think it's a punishment.
How do you punish, if you punish?
Well, this is how we do a lot of things where if you make free throws, you don't have to run as much, So if we don't make a time or we don't make something, we put them on the line and say, okay, let's shoot free throws. If you make 3 out of 5, we don't have to run. Because free throws, to me, are very important. They win ball games. So those are the things that we try to do. But it's not, probably at the beginning, I made kids run a lot more than what I make them run now.
Well, is conditioning very important for basketball, or which is more important? Like, give me percentages. Conditioning, technique, and I don't know, maybe power. What are the
Well, I
big
believe
things?
technique and power are a little bit more important. We run a full court press the whole game, unless, the team is just attacking in on
Hey,
us.
what
and
does
we
that
can't do it.
mean for a dum-dum like me?
We run like a 1-2-2 press. So we are full court the whole time, where most teams, they score the basket and they just run back to half court and they play a zone or man. Instead, we are pressuring the ball from the very beginning to the very end. I think we wear teams down with it. So it's very important that conditioning is important, but the conditioning with a technique to me is more important than, putting them on the line and punishing them that way.
Okay, I see. Well, I want to ask you more about your coaching philosophies and your thoughts on coaching, maybe some of your pet peeves in coaching. But first, I got to give a quick thank you to Fairbury Furniture, which is Central Illinois' premier furniture provider. These guys rock. Fairbury Furniture is Central Illinois' premier furniture store. This family-owned business offers a vast selection of premium furniture items from all of your favorite brands, including Sealy, Best Home Furnishings, Leather Italia, Tempur-Pedic, and Ashley, just to name a few. And right next door to their gorgeous 7,000 square foot furniture showroom, you will find the Fairbury Furniture Mattress Store, home to all of the latest and greatest mattresses in any and all sizes. Also inside Fairbury Furniture is the popular WC Market, a beloved shop that offers an ever-changing selection of unique gifts and fashionable home decor. Here at Fairbury Furniture, the staff is always helpful and friendly, and they are well stocked with all the mattresses, tables, chairs, recliners, couches, and decorative pillows that your heart desires. So make your home interior beautiful, comfortable, stylish, and delightful when you shop at Fairbury's own Fairbury Furniture.
Come on down to Fairbury Furniture, where the furniture rocks.
Where the furniture rocks. That's Fairbury Furniture in, of course, Fairbury, Illinois. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about your pet peeves as a coach. What's a great way to tick you off as a coach? What are some things I could do?
If you showed up late to practice, I like the kids to be there on time, stretched out, ready to go. I hate it on a Thursday night after a game when the girls might say, hey, coach, I can't be at practice on Friday for something that they've known that's been going on for like a month. Mm-hmm. So planning ahead, because I want the kids to be able to plan ahead and communicate. But coming out and they're mad because they didn't think they were in there long enough, or they're not for sure why they came out. Because sometimes we just sub because we want to stop the flow of the game to get our press going. And so sometimes when they come out and they're all mad, just take a second and breathe through it all, and we'll tell you why. Oh. But I don't have too many pet peeves. The girls might say I do. Just if kids aren't working hard. And, sometimes we have 2-hour practices, and in an hour and a half, the kids are done, So I'm like, just give me a few more minutes. Just give me a few more minutes. And we work through those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. How do you get the girls motivated? What do you do to get them pumped up? I know what you don't do in order to not, crush them, but how do you get them fired up? Big game. We got to bring our A game.
Well, there's a lot of things like, we encourage the girls to play music before. They seem to love to play music, and we'll walk in and for them to see a 51-year-old just go ahead and dance with them in the locker room. They're always like, Coach that. K, there's been times over the years, like when different song or dances have come out, like the Dougie was one year. And I'm like, girls, if we make it to the state tournament, I'll do the Dougie. So just things like that. Like I try to have fun with them. We do this buddy project in our team. And so we, at the beginning of the year, buddy up like maybe an older kid with a younger kid, or we don't usually do like a point guard and a point guard. We do, different things. And so we have these buddy projects all throughout the year. Like we give them folders, and then they have to decorate their buddy's folder. They do like at Christmas, they make a buddy a homemade Christmas gift, and so then we judge them all. And they've done like a buddy TikTok, and then we judge them which one's better. So the kids love the buddy thing, and they're so competitive about it. They're always sending us like pictures, and their buddies are like at Chick-fil-A. They're like, the buddies went to go eat. Do we get a point for that? And so it's things like that we try to have fun with too. And then at the end of the year, we tally up all the points, and we have a third place team that wins buddy, second place first team. But it's something that kind of breaks the ice. And it also, or send your buddy an encouraging quote, or send your buddy, bring your buddy a snack today or on the bus, or something like that. But it's just something where we use the buddies to, like, if you're at school, because we don't work at the school. And so, it's kind of hard sometimes for the kids to find us. So other than communication text. So, we ask the buddy to communicate with the other buddy if they're going to be late, if they have to go take a test and they don't have time to call us, or if a buddy is in trouble and running for something that buddy should encourage them, then we always ask the buddy to run with them. So there's kind of a buddy support system, and the kids have had so much fun with it over the years. They really have. They're like, who's our buddy? Who's our buddy this year? When do we get our buddies? So it's something that I know that the girls like to do.
I'm going to take a guess and say that your team is close. Is that fair to say?
Well, we do a lot of things together. I've had other coaches that they make fun of us all the time. They're like, where are you guys going out to eat tonight? We have pregame meals that our coaches make or our parents make for us, which is very nice on the road or at home.
Every game?
We just kind of rotate it. So like if we're playing at the Inner City, which is in town, or the State Farm Classic, we usually meet up at a restaurant and eat together and do a lot of things. Over the years, we've gone bowling together.
Man, this is very crazy. And from how I see it, I don't know if maybe my sports experience was just really lacking in the camaraderie department, but this is really cool what you're saying.
We do service project every Christmas. We do the Stuff the Bus. I think it's very important for the kids to do something back to the community. So we do Stuff the Bus, and just some other things. We've adopted a family over Christmas before and gone out and got gifts and stuff like that. So
what does that mean exactly?
So like at Christmas, we adopt a family. We go get presents for them that they've written down things that they want for Christmas. So we've done things like that. So over the years, we try to give back to the community as well. There's just a lot of things we do. One of the special things that, I've told you that state championship brought me to tears. Mm-hmm. A few years back, probably 2015 maybe, we started where we would go every other year where we would have a night with the moms and a night with the dads. That can be kind of hard because, some people maybe have lost a parent or... Of
course, that's immediately what I thought.
We're very sensitive. We, we ask them to bring somebody, something. The first year we did it with the moms. We made like signs, like they could pick out a word, like some people picked out tradition or love or anything. And we made these signs, and the moms and them made the signs. And then we had the girls write something to their moms. And to listen to the girls talk to their moms, it was emotional. It was emotional. And it was one of the best nights. I mean, the state champion, we got done with it. And I said, the championship game was awesome, but this night was even more fun. I mean, it was just... listening to the kids thanking their moms, listening to things that sometimes the girls don't say as a teenager, was just awesome. And then the next year we did the dads. We did more contests, like we had some shooting contests and things like that. And then the girls wrote to their dads. And their dads' things were funny. Like their moms were more serious. And the things to their dads were like funny stories. And we just laughed. And so we've been doing that every other year. And then COVID came. And we kind of haven't been able to do that the past couple of years because of the COVID situation. But we're going to get right back at it. But those are things that you see the kids with their moms or their dads or whoever they bring with them. Some bring grandmas, things like that. And just seeing them in a different light. And what their parents or what their role models, mean to them, it's pretty special.
Can you remember any of the most touching things that maybe some of these girls said to their moms? Because,
well, when you see girls play basketball, and some of them are tough and some of them have a serious side to them, and you don't know that they really have that emotional side.
Yeah.
And to see a kid, talk to their mom and appreciate or tell a story of something that their parents have done or mom has done for them, it's touching that way.
Have you ever had parents get mad at you for your coaching style? It doesn't seem like you're too overbearing, but have you ever had, those mama bears?
Yeah.
You don't play my daughter enough.
Oh, you've gone through a lot. As a coach, you've gone through a lot. And I try to tell my parents in our parents' meeting, and I try to tell the kids this. Someone told me a long time ago that basketball is the hardest sport to coach because you only get to play 5 players out on the floor. Where you have football, you can play 11-11, or volleyball, you have 6, and then you have a libero and someone that serves and comes in the front row or back row. But in basketball, there's 5 players out there. So it is hard, and everybody wants their kid to play more. Everybody wants to see their kid succeed. So I even know that in the state championship, when we won the state championship, there was critics. There's just always going to be those critics. And I learned a long time ago, again, from a mentor, or a coach that had been around for a long time. They're like, you're going to come across sometimes where you're going to be coaching one of your friends' kids or something like that, and it's going to hit you the wrong way. But you have to remember that what you've done that night is what you thought was the best at the time, and you have to learn from it, whether you did it right or whether you did it wrong. And when I got over the first couple of times of trying to please everybody, then I felt like I was more successful. I know I don't do everything right at times, but I try to give everything that I've got to the kids, emotionally, physically, mentally, to be successful for later in life.
What's harder for you? What was harder in your experience, being a player or being a coach?
Being a coach. A player, you just go play.
Try telling that to some of your athletes, I guess.
I know, right? But, just being a coach, there's just so much responsibility, and people don't realize that either. I mean, you're working with the AD and the administration to be successful by playing schools, bigger schools, trying to build up your schedule and, making sure that all that is fulfilled, and doing all the small things as a coach on the outside, to be prepared for the season. If there's fundraising or, ordering new uniforms or all that kind of stuff, that all takes time. And then when the season's there, it's just all the communication still with the parents and the kids, and you want the kids to be the ones that communicate with parents. But as a parent, I know how that goes. So you still want to reach things out to the parents a little bit. So there's just a lot that goes on, and it's just not November to February or March as a season. It's a long season too. Basketball is. But there's summer. There's so much summer that if you want to be competitive, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and I encourage all the kids at Central Catholic to play more than one sport. So we kind of try to work with the other coaches, and this is time in June is for basketball. This time is for another sport, to divide it up. And I do feel bad for the kids. This is probably where I've changed a lot over the years, is not doing so much in the summer. Like I thought, oh my gosh, if you got 25 contact days, we got to play 25 contact days. That's what the IHSA gives you. But now I've kind of come back on that because kids need to play other sports. They need to work. They need to be able just to be a kid in the summer. So I probably don't play as much in the summer as we used to. Or I try to do it where getting them up early and having an open gym and, still trying to be competitive and work on other things, but maybe cut back a little bit there. But it's a full-time job, basketball. It just doesn't stop. You come home after a game, you're putting the stats in. I have a great assistant coach that helps me with a lot of that. But all of a sudden, you're watching the next film because I'm a big believer in watching the other team. And so we practice a lot on the other team. So there's a lot of film. I used to drive everywhere. And that was fun with my coach, my assistant coach,
everywhere.
To go watch other teams play.
Oh, you'd actually just sit there and people would be like, who's that?
Yeah, and we'd be scouting. We'd be watching the other teams. But now there's so much film, technology, that you can kind of watch that now, so you can kind of do it in the comfort of your home. But what I found this year, because I did more of that, you don't really actually see how tall kids are or how quick kids are than you do when you're in person. So I still like to see the teams in person.
That's very interesting. And I have a good few more questions about your coaching, the early morning practices. I just have a lot I want to say, but first we got to give a quick thank you to yet another sponsor, and that is Ultra Physical Therapy in Lexington, Illinois. I'm sure you've lost some kids to some knee injuries in basketball, right?
Yes, we have, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so if you have a knee injury, go to these people. They'll get you back on the court as soon as humanly possible. Newsflash, no one likes being injured or being in pain. And if you're suffering from joint or muscle pain or recovering from a sports injury or a recent surgery, Ultra Physical Therapy in downtown Lexington, Illinois is here to help. They are a locally owned physical therapy company that can treat everyone from the star cheerleader to the farmer getting ready for harvest to the professional office worker to the grandmother who wants to be able to play with her grandchildren. The therapists at Ultra Physical Therapy have a combined 25 years of experience and are trained in cutting-edge interventions, including dry needling, blood flow restriction training, cupping, and the use of massage and joint manipulation. They are also skilled in developing exercise and rehabilitation programs to get you back to doing all the things that you love to do. So free yourself from those aches and pains that are slowing you down and give them a call at 309-365-2500 to schedule an appointment or just to ask questions.
Come to Ultra Physical Therapy in Lexington and we'll keep you moving.
All right, that's Ultra